Hello and welcome to another episode of TEVAdrive. And now finally, after many years of waiting, we got our hands on Toyota RAV4 Prime plug-in hybrid. So this is the top of the line Toyota. It's also one of the fastest Toyotas with 300 horsepower total system power, which is divided between the gasoline engine and the electric motor. It also has an 18 kilowatt hour battery, which seems to be a usable capacity, and the way we know it, we'll tell you about in a moment. We have driven it all the way, as usual, to our lake house and back. We've tried using the highway on the way over and then side roads on the way back, so we'll tell you about the consumption in a moment. For now, we just wanted to show you the outside of the car. In the front, it looks a little bit different than all the other RAV4s. So specifically for this RAV4 Prime, you can see the different design in the DRL LEDs in the front here. There are double DRLs here. The main headlight is still in the same position, but those LEDs are a little bit different. They are like signature just for Prime. Also, you have an additional LED here, which is the vertical LED here. So you have the horizontal ones here and a vertical here. In a regular RAV4, this is either blanked out or you have a regular fog lamp in this position. So this makes it a little bit, the look up front at least is a little bit different than all the other gasoline or hybrid RAV4s. So here we have the beautiful dark navy blue color. The other sign that this is a plug-in hybrid is this, as with all the other Toyota plug-in hybrids, is the big plug-in hybrid sign on the side of the car. And because this is the top-of-the-line XSE model, you have the 19-inch rims with nice aluminum rims, so 235 wide tires with 19-inch rims. Okay, let's continue our journey. So basically, here you have the mirrors with all the warning signals inside them, the turn signal here as well. Very comfortable interior, we'll show you in a moment. Electrically adjusted seats, leather seats with the red stitching all around. So this XSE model starts at around 50, and with all the equipment that you see in this car, it's actually 60 grand. So yes, you could say it would be competing with a lot of full electric cars such as Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5. However, you know, this being a plug-in hybrid, there won't be too many people cross-shopping plug-in hybrid SUVs with full electric SUVs, to be honest, in our opinion, for now. So that's what it's priced at. Basically, it's priced between the Ford Escape plug-in hybrid and the Lincoln Corsair plug-in hybrid. The advantage of this Toyota above the Ford Escape is that it's all-wheel drive and 300 horses, so it's more powerful and it's all-wheel drive. It is also more expensive. So here's the plentiful back seat space. Now this particular XSE model comes with JBL stereo system and speakers. On this side you have the you have to press a button inside the car to open it, but this is your fuel filler cap on this side. Then we have your generous trunk, and again, this being a RAV4 Prime, another big sign here on the side. You can see in big red letters, you see RAV4 Prime. Another sign that this is a plug-in hybrid, and of course a green plate. This particular one comes from Quebec, that's why it's a green Quebec plate. We've previously had some other press cars, like the Ford Mach-E was also green plated in Quebec. Here you have the model name, the XSE. So again, it starts just over 50, and then as equipped, fully loaded, it's around 60 grand in Canada. So the car is equipped with, it should be working. Is it equipped? There it is. So it makes a beep and it opens. So it's equipped with a foot swipe, very generous trunk. You have all the parking sensors up here, both rear and front. There is little net to hold things down. You can see here a JBL subwoofer on the left hand side, and then underneath the floor is a spare. Again, one of the very few plug-in hybrids that actually offers a spare. So many people will like that. we like it about our e-tron. Our e-tron is one of the, if maybe the only full electric SUV that has a spare. Correct us if we're wrong in the comments, please. So let's try and close it up. Here's the charging cable for the car. And it seems to be strictly a level 1 only, unless we missed another adapter for a level 2, but it seems to be just a level 1. It's just says Lexus Toyota on it, and it says 120 volts, yeah, only. So it's not a dual voltage like we've seen in many other plug-in hybrid and full electric cars. It's strictly a level 1 only. So you can only plug it into your regular outlet, in which case you'll charge at 1.2 kilowatts per hour. If you want to charge it off a level 2, which this car charges at around 6 kilowatts, you need a specific wall box capable of 6 kilowatts. All right, so let's go. There is a cover here for the cargo area, and let's close it off, and let's jump inside and show you the interior space. So the car has quite a generous space and electrically adjustable seats. The car comes with the seat heaters, obviously. It also comes with a seat cooler, so all the adjustments happens to be here. You've got a very sporty seats, as you can see, a lot of lateral support in these sport seats in the XSE model. You have a sunroof here with the blind. It's a panorama sunroof that actually opens, which we like, as you know. The steering wheel is adjustable manually, so up and down and telescopic. So it's a manual adjustment. Start button is here. The screens will show you in a moment, just before we take you for a spin. And a drive will go through the screen menus and explain all the screens. So you have the partially digital screen here on the dash. You have the center screen here, which is made by JBL. And then you have the climate adjustments all here. Auto off, change temperature. You can sync, or you have a dual zone if you wish. There's a digital readout for the climate screen here. And then here you have some more buttons for seat heating, seat cooling, etc., etc. So then you have your regular gear shifter here, P, R, and D, and then Sport, you shift it to the left. So again, we'll explain the different modes. Here you have the handbrake, the electric handbrake. You have the auto hold for the car, as well as different EV modes. There's 2 different buttons which we'll go through in a moment. This knob here, it also changes mode. So you have 1, 2, 3, so a turn knob with a push button, and 2 more buttons that control various EV modes. It's slightly complicated, but we'll go through it in a moment. We'll get back to it when we take you for a drive. You have a fairly large storage compartment with 2 USB chargers here, 2 USB plugs, 2 cup holders here. So now let's jump in and show you the back seat space. So I'm in a comfortable position again. For those of you who haven't watched any of other previous reviews, I'm 190 centimeters or 6'3", almost 6'4", 6 feet 4 in height. And so when we measure the space, this is kind of the standard that we use. So I'm in a very comfortable driving position. Let's jump in the back and see how comfortable the back seat will be if you're sitting behind a fairly tall driver. All right, let's jump in. So I've got quite a bit of room, both for my feet and for my knees. They're quite comfortable. The seats do not recline. You have the handle here. Quite a comfortable position. Even though the car comes with a sunroof, I have quite a bit of headroom here. Quite a bit of space left. You have the cup holders here when you pull down. And the seats are at the typical 60-40 split. Okay, so here we are inside the 2022 Toyota RAV4 Prime plug-in hybrid. We wanted to show you the 2 screens and all the functions and the various driving modes before we hit the road. So first of all, the screen here. We're sitting inside this top of the line. Sorry about that. That's the Android Auto. talking in my watch. So we're sitting inside of a top of the line XSE model, which starts at around 51. As equipped here with fully loaded, it's around 60 grand. The screen is partially analog, partially digital. You can see here in the middle, there's a little square digital screen, and then the left you have analog gauges showing the power band, and when it's charging it shows the extent of how much it's recharging. Then when the car is off, it's at the bottom, of course. Here you have the fuel gauge and the battery gauge as well. It's just analog, so it doesn't forget about seeing percentage of the state of charge of the battery. It's just a manual gauge here that shows you approximately where it is battery wise. We've driven quite a bit already from home. We currently have 47 kilometer range left, and the battery looks like it's above 3/4. At full, this car is capable of a maximum approximately 75 kilometers. This is how much we were able to drive it, both on the highway, strangely enough, and very similar score doing side roads in hypermiles. So we were not able to achieve a much better score in terms of the EV range on using the side roads. Could it be because of the wind? Could it be because of the hills around Georgian Bay? So anyways, the maximum we're able to squeeze out of this car is 75 kilometers till empty, till it switches to hybrid mode. Of course, as you know, the high voltage battery, which is 18 kilowatt hours large, never uses 100% of its capacity. It keeps, on average, in other plug-in hybrids, it keeps around 10%, 5 to 10% for hybrid operation. So the 75 kilometers is actually not bad. Now, this car does not show you trip statistics precisely enough so that you can determine how many kilometers you were able to drive in electric. It just shows your average consumption in electric and average consumption in gas. So here's your trip average right now because it's a new trip. It's showing 0 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And then in order to change the driving modes, you basically have all these buttons here. So first of all is your parking, electric parking brake. You have the hold mode, which you turn on or off using this button, and the little symbol appears here that you're in auto hold, so that you can take your foot off the brake when you're stopped. We don't like it, so we turn it off. And all of the rest of the buttons have to do with the hybrid and various hybrid and electric modes. So first of all, you have this button here that switches between eco, normal, and sport. So let us show you what happens on the screen here. Right now we're in eco modes, which you do by turning the knob to the left. So we are in eco mode. You can see here EV mode, eco mode, and EV mode again. When you push to normal, it disappears. The eco signal or the sign disappears. And when you put it in sport, you have a little thing here that shows the sport. Now, normally while you're driving, this will switch from the electric consumption to gas consumption, but because we're stopped and the engine is off, it did not switch from the electrical consumption to fuel consumption. You control your screen here with these buttons here. So here is just a simple, compass. Your entertainment details, your total, again, your trip distance and total time, which doesn't help us much. This is the various systems on or off, system messages, and then we're back to the consumption for the trip. Eco zone, it gives you your eco score, start, cruise, stop, and it gives you, you're being marked basically when you drive this plug-in hybrid. And then you have your total time, EV ratio. It's obviously for this trip it's 100%. Okay, and so these are the different displays that are available to you up on the dashboard. And then again, you would expect that in a $60,000 car you would have the fully digital dashboard versus half and half. So most likely next week when we drive the Lexus version of the same car, the Lexus NX 450h Plus, which is basically underneath, it's exactly the same car, but it's more luxurious. For sure, there's going to be more luxury items and fully digital screens and so on. So that's in terms of the dashboard. Here on the main screen, this is your home screen right now. You can go, it has your entertainment. So that's your phone menu, and then your navigation here. You can go to map menu by clicking map. So you can go back to main menu. So if you want to switch to Android Auto, you go to menu and then you switch to Android Auto right here. Okay, that's my Android Auto giving me messages. And then to get back, you press menu again, and then you can go home again. So it's good to have these buttons here. You have the power volume. You can also control the volume of the stereo and entertainment here on the steering wheel. You have the plus minus volume buttons. You have the verbal commands, which we haven't tried yet. Your phone button here, and then your back button here. So on the right of the wheel here, we have all about the cruise control. So we'll demonstrate the cruise control with adaptive and auto steer as we take you for a drive. The various modes are here. Basically, these are just the modes for entertainment. Sorry, there we go. So these are various modes here for simply entertainment, and skip back and forth again for entertainment. So besides the main screen here, you also have this climate screen here. So right now we have the climate on. We should turn it to auto. So auto, AC on or off, sync or dual zone. And you can adjust the fan speed. So you have the front defroster, rear defroster, eco for heat and cooling. You can turn it off, and then you will get more heating or more cooling. But it's nice to have the eco option for the climate if you want to extend your range as much as possible. Of course, the climate has effect on range. So right now we have the AC on. Our EV range is showing at 47 kilometers. Let's see what happens when we turn it off. Right away, we get 49 kilometers. So this car estimates that the effect of the climate system on the range is about 2 kilometers, which is not much, which is good. And then, so all your climate functions are here. So this is how you adjust the temperature. Pretty simple and straightforward. Separate adjustments for left zone and right zone. Then you have your seat heating and seat cooling. This is a nice feature. No seat massage here. Perhaps we'll get it in the Lexus version of this car. So you have the maximum, it's a 3-stage, both heater and cooling. And you can actually feel it. It's nice. It's a warm day today. It's only 21. And later next week, it's going to be again 37 to 40 degrees with humidity. This week, we're lucky enough with the weather. It was moderate and not too hot. So seat heating and seat cooling is nice. And then this is just your stability system on or off. So that's about it. Let's hit the road and show again, just to show you the various modes. So the first of all, we explained to you the button here, Eco, Normal, and Sport. And then here, these two buttons will change the different functions. So we have the Auto EV or hybrid mode. So EV mode or Auto EV hybrid mode. And then the button on the right is charge hold. And there you go. As soon as you put it on charge hold, it's supposed to hold the charge. This is where your consumption here switches to gas. And we're at 3.6 liters per 100 kilometers. And that's the trip average for our test. We've driven, just around 500 kilometers. So the trip average is 3.6, not bad. In the city, obviously, we're driving in full electric, and on the highway, we did use some gas. So it's not a bad score. So we're in charge hold mode, and when you press it again, back to EV mode, then obviously it switches to electrical consumption. So that's about it. Let's hit the road, and let's give you our impression. So we'll start off in the EV mode, and then when we get to the larger highway, we'll try and switch it to sport mode. The other interesting thing is before we hit the road is the regen. You have the shift paddles here behind the steering wheel, and normally in plug-in hybrids, these shift paddles serve solely to switch gears. In this car, they have dual function. So they, in a gas mode, they basically will simulate changing gears. As we know, this is a CVT transmission in this car, so it's only simulating gear changes. However, when you're in pure EV mode, this will actually change your regen settings. The maximum you can get is about halfway down the charge excuse me, gauge right here, but it definitely increases the regen when you press the minus button here. When you're in standard D for drive mode, it resets itself every time. So the only way to hold your settings for the shift pedals and the regen is to actually put it in sport mode. So we'll show you in a moment. Okay, so let's put it in drive. Let's go for a spin in the neighborhood. So we're in D, and we're in an EV mode, sport. Maybe let's start in eco. Okay, so let's start in eco and pure EV mode. Okay, the other thing we did not mention as we start our driving section is the wireless phone charger here, which has actually an on-off button. So make sure that if you want to charge your phone by placing it here, that you press the on button and the light is on. Otherwise, your phone will simply not charge. You can see the power bench here showing, and charge barely charges. So if you want to increase the regen, shift paddle back to 1, and then it recharges. It won't stop because the car creeps forward. I did not press the brake button, but you have to, in order to fully stop, you have to depress the brake button. So it's almost as good as single pedal driving, but because of the creep mode, you won't be able to stop fully. You have to depress the brake button. Now, again, right now it's reset again. So let's go right. As long as you're in D mode, the regen settings will reset itself every time. So as you can see right now, it barely charges. It basically mostly coasts. So the only way for you to keep the maximum regen is there's two ways. You can put yourself in a sport mode, so switch it right by the turn knob. So we're in sport mode now. So when we accelerate, it accelerates better in the sport mode as well. So you definitely have more power to accelerate, and it has more power to recharge. But the most regen is when you push it left into the sport mode. So this is the way to get the most regen out of this car. Now you can also adjust it. Now, being in the sport mode, in the S mode, the screen will show you that you are in S mode, and now we're in S3. As you can see, the regen, and you can shift it down to even 1. The more you shift it down, the fake gears, the more it will brake, the more it will recharge. So right now we're in S1. The car, as we accelerate the car, we switch to S2, and then you can pretty much keep it in S2, and then your regen is, it's not quite one pedal driving, but this is as close as you can get in this Toyota plug-in hybrid. So basically, by switching to EV mode, sport mode, and then to S, and by shifting it down, this is how you get the strongest regen possible in this car. So it's kind of complicated, but that's how it works. So now we'll try and demonstrate the sport mode in hybrid mode to get the effect of the full 300 horsepower in this car. Okay, so we're approaching the red light. Let's see how we can go to auto EV hybrid. We're in sport mode, S2, and it spun the wheel. So even though it's an all-wheel drive car, the car actually still was able to spin the wheels, even though it's a perfectly dry weather. And the engine kicked in pretty much right away. So you can barely hear it, but the engine is there in the background. So it's a CVT. Now it's revving high. So we're changing it, upshifting to 3. Now you can definitely hear it. And downshifting doesn't do much because as soon as you're slowing down, the car switches automatically to EV mode. So obviously, yeah, let's switch it back to drive. So when you push it beyond a certain point, just like with all plug-in hybrids, the engine will kick in. And then eventually, there you go. And so the engine is still on in the background in the sport mode. And it's that CVT, whining engine noise, which every CVT has, and quite a few plug-in hybrids have the CVT transmission, which is slightly annoying, the high revving, but you can get used to it. So to go back to electric mode so that we have more quiet, we go to Eco. There you go. And we're back in quiet EV mode. So all this system between the 2 buttons and 1 turn knob, there's a lot of combinations that you can use, and you will learn how to maximize your EV range. Obviously in Eco and pure EV mode is the way to maximize your range. In the charge hold mode, the car will simply hold the charge. It will definitely not recharge the battery. So there is no e-charge mode in this plug-in hybrid, unfortunately, or fortunately. As you know, when you charge the battery with a gas engine, your gas consumption goes up. So many people don't like it for that reason. We like it because we like using pure electric mode on city streets, and on the highway we usually try and recharge the battery so that we can use the full electric mode later. So this car can only hold the charge, it cannot recharge. So that's about it for our driving impressions. Now let's quickly tell you our results from the Hypermile test and from the regular highway test. So again, 75 kilometers is the most that we were able to obtain, both going on the highway in the middle to left lane speed on the Highway 400 northbound. The total kilometers in pure electric mode was about 75. Driving back on a side road using Highway 27, same thing. We were able to only get about 75, and this car does not tell you the consumption. So if you want to check the info, in eco mode here, it basically shows you the trip information, which gives you the consumption, but it's with liters per 100 kilometers. It doesn't give you your electric consumption. And then it shows you the energy, and then you have the history of your consumption. But again, remember, it's liters per 100 kilometers. It doesn't give you the history of consumption in the kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So it kind of, this car is biased towards the gas consumption. We're not sure about the Toyota phone app because we were not given access to it. But this here is the only way you can kind of check your trip stats. And again, they are biased towards the fuel consumption, not the electric consumption. So the only way you can see your average consumption, and we're now at 31 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers because we've been pushing the car in sport EV mode. We're at 29. The best score we got was about 14 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, driving very carefully without climate in the city. Our highway consumption was, it was a Friday traffic, it was a weekend, and it was, we were not able to drive very fast on the highway. The best score on the highway was 18 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Then the highest consumption we got in electric mode was about almost 30 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and that was stuck in Toronto downtown traffic during rush hour with very hot weather and the AC on. So again, the car seems to be quite economical in ideal conditions. So you can take it down to as much as 14 kWh per 100 kilometers in the city, which should give this car theoretical range of almost 100 kilometers, which we were not able to achieve. And even on the highway, we were able to bring it down to about 18 kWh per 100 kilometers, you know, even using the highway without climate, mind you. So that's about it for our driving impressions. If you have any other questions regarding this car, you know, please feel free to comment. The only function that we haven't shown you yet, and we'll try and show you in a moment, is basically show you the cruise control with adaptive and with lane keep assist, or the auto steer version by Toyota. So you turn it on by pressing the button on the right, set below, and let's set it for the speed limit here, which I believe is 60. The car doesn't show you what the speed limit is. So there we go. So let's set it at 60, and you can tell that the auto steer is on by those lines here in the middle, the blue lines, and also in your head-up display. By the way, this car is equipped, as it should be, the top-of-the-line version of this car is equipped with head-up display, shows you the auto steer and cruise control settings, shows you the set speed and the speed you're doing right now. The nice thing about the navigation, even if you're using you know, the Android Auto navigation, it'll still show you the arrows here on the dashboard. Obviously, when you're navigating with Android Auto, you will not get the turn-by-turn notifications on the head-up display. That only you know, works for the car navigation system, but at least you will still get the turn-by-turn notifications on the main dashboard here, which is kind of nice. With most of the other, you know, electric cars and plug-in hybrids that we reviewed, when you use the Android Auto system, it only shows you the instructions on the center screen. All right, so if we turn it on now, it's on the turn, and the auto steer is on. There we go. Now it's catching on. We're on a bend, and the car tells us to take over, but it's able to handle the turns. The prompts to take over happen much more frequently when you're at a you know, on the bend than if you're going straight. So if you're going straight, and even if you're going straight with very well marked highway, whether it's in the city or on the highway, your prompts will come every 20 seconds or so. But as you saw right now, we're on the city street with auto steer, and it prompted us every few seconds. So it depends on the situation, right? So it's not a hands-free system for sure. It will be helpful. You have to keep your hands on the wheel, and when you let go, it'll tend to bounce off the markings, lane markings a little bit. But all in all, it's a pretty good auto steer system. So adaptive cruise with auto steer, and it works quite well. So that's about it for our driving section of this review. And again, feel free to send your questions in the comments. And of course, as usual, do not forget to press the subscribe button to help us. And if you like our reviews, please do the thumbs up as usual. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you at the next review.